What's up, people? It's James from Lucrative MMA. I'm back to drop some more knowledge on you. And today, as always, Monday morning here for me in New Zealand. It is 10:53, I believe. 10:54 now, and I'm just chilling indoors. And as I always do, I'm going to go through the whole betting card of the weekend, which was Rob Font versus Cody Garbrandt. Every week I come on here and I do a weekly recap, like I do my weekly podcast every week as well. And it's going to be exciting to talk about this one because it was a very big card for us here at Lucrative MMA. It was the biggest night of the year. So we won 19 units, just over 19 units actually, which is the biggest night of the year. So it's obviously going to be exciting to talk about some of the fights on the card. For those of you who do not know me, I'm a professional sports bettor. I grew up around the sports betting industry. I have over 10 years experience sports betting. And over the last 3 years, I've been able to help people make money from MMA betting. All my results are third-party tracked on an independent website, betmma.tips, so I cannot fake my record like most of the other fake scam decappers that are currently on top of the sports betting scene. In general, I'm 100% transparent. You can make a lot of money by joining up to my service. You can check the links in my bio or go to lucrativemmabetting.com to find out more. Everything is in there. All the information you need is in there. So without further ado, we'll get into the card. So it was a good card, topped off by a great main event. I really enjoyed Rob Font versus Cody Garbrandt. It was kind of just like a 5-round beatdown, but I definitely enjoyed seeing Rob Font's skills. Obviously, we did see Cody trouble him a little bit, but not much. The first round with the wrestling, and then obviously the last round he hit him a couple times. But it was basically a 5-round beatdown. But let me not get into that fight just yet. I'll be getting into the first fight of the night, right? And I'll bring up my screen so all of you can see it also. Where are we going? So the first fight of the night was Magulov versus Raphael Alves. Now, I actually said this was the most exciting fight on the card for me. In my Lucrative MMA Betting podcast that I do every week, I give out the most exciting fight on the card. I give out the most inaccurate betting line on the card, and I talk about the main event. And the most exciting fight was this fight. It was exciting for a few reasons. One of the reasons is because Demetrius Magulov was coming back, and I am a big fan of Demetrius Magulov. He's a very cerebral fighter. And obviously, Raphael Alves, I actually rated his skill set to be very dynamic, very dangerous, as I did say in the podcast. So that is the reason I thought it might be the most exciting fight. And it was very exciting, in my opinion. Probably not the most exciting, but it definitely was very exciting. I predicted Demir to get a third-round finish in that fight. Obviously, it was actually Raphael Alves, the one was coming on, which is pretty crazy. I actually thought he would be the one gassing because we've seen him gas in fights before, and we've seen Demir go more than 3 rounds before. So it was very confusing. Shout out to my man Rockstar Z. He said that he saw Raphael Alves land a body kick that may have drained Demir, so that could be a reason, why he was seemingly gassed in that third round. And then also he was kept on touching his eye in that third round, and he had lots of swelling and marking around that eye, so that was possibly causing him some trouble as well. But Alves definitely a dangerous guy. I knew that, but I just thought that if he didn't get one of these crazy low percentage moves, rushing in, flying knee, axe kick, spinning wheel kick, if he doesn't hit that, Demir should probably take over the fight. And Demir did, he bossed the first and second rounds. And obviously in the third round, he did fade and he lost that round. But a clear 29-28 for Demir. And that's the thing, though. It's interesting because I said on my podcast that some fighters, they can beat anyone. So Raphael Alves, because of his skill set, he's one of them fighters that he could beat anyone, right? But he would also get beat by so many people. So some fighters, I said that they could just never win against a certain fighter. Like, for example, I don't want to name names really, but someone like Joel Alvarez, right? He could never beat Dustin Poirier, really. Like, it's almost never going to happen. They fight 1,000 times. Couple times he might win. You know what I mean? Raphael Alves, he can beat anyone on any given day. You know, he can beat Islam Makhachev. He could beat Khabib. I'm going to get a lot of shit from saying that. I said it before the podcast. Now people are kind of understanding what I said in the podcast. Sorry, I said it in the podcast. People saying I was a bit crazy. You know, he was like a plus 500 underdog. But I think people understand what I mean now because his skill set is very dynamic, right? But yeah, if he doesn't land that, then he's going to get beat, you know, and that's what happened. He didn't land it. So, I mean, he even did land it, but he couldn't finish Demir. So, yeah, good win for Demir. He moves on. I would like to see Demir against like a higher ranked opponent, of course. Now, he was slated to fight someone else, I think. Was he? I'm not sure. But anyway, he was 2 years out the ring, out the octagon, you know. So it would be good to see him back. With some time under his belt, because as I said on the podcast, to come back after 2 years out, 3 major surgeries and fight someone like Raphael Alves, it's not good, you know, because Raphael Alves is going to come out like a lunatic. And that was actually poor on Demir to not do his tape study properly like we do. And he didn't know Alves was going to come out like a lunatic. I mean, if they did a prop on if Alves is going to come out like a madman, I mean, I would have put the whole bankroll on it, you know, because exactly what he does every single fight. So Demir got caught off guard there, which was pretty poor. I don't know if he watches tape, but I mean, if you just look at the stats here on the board, you know, 141 strikes to 36 strikes of Alves. Obviously got 2 takedowns. Alves got none. So, you know, he did well to adapt, but it's a dangerous fight to come back to, especially in that first couple of minutes because Alves is so dynamic, right? But good win from Demir there. I think I rated Alves above most people, although I still back Demir. So, you know, he'll probably get some props for that win now. A little bit more anyway. So, shout out to Narco. What's up, man? Nice weekend. Damn, you got 21 units. That's huge, man. That's ridiculous. Told everyone, Alves, well done, bro. Well done. Alves is dangerous as hell. Everyone wrote him off, but this dude is legit. Yeah, he looked good at 55. Yeah, man, his skill set is super dangerous, right? To be honest, I don't think he's legit in the fact that I do believe that, I mean, to be honest, he looked better in that fight I've ever seen him on tape, right? But I just think that if he doesn't get them crazy knockouts, then, you know, he will get beat. You know, I've seen him choked out multiple times. I've seen him get TKO'd from like multiple different injuries. So, and I've seen him gas out multiple times as well. So maybe the move to 55 will help him badly. He's definitely going to beat a lot of guys. If he doesn't get them, you know, crazy knockouts or submissions, I do think he will fade. Although he got beat in the first 2 rounds and won the last round, which is crazy. If anything, I would have said he'd win the first round and then get beaten in the last 2. So maybe it is the 155 move. If Alves don't go for the guillotine in the first after knocking Demir down, this would be a completely different fight. Yeah, maybe. It's hard to say, right? Like, it's really hard to say, like, what would have happened if something happened because we didn't see it. So, you know, because a lot of people say about the Chandler fight, you know, if Chandler would have backed away and not got into his guard, then he would have won. But I mean, maybe not, you know, like maybe, but then also maybe not. So it's possible, but it's so hard to say. So, you know, that might have been his best chance, you know, that guillotine might have been tight and then he might have tapped Demir out, you know, but he didn't. So, you know, it's really hard. But I know what you're saying. In hindsight, he shouldn't have gone for it because he didn't get the tap. So David Dvorak versus Juan Camilo Ronderos. Yeah, so I mean, just complete domination. Dvorak, right? He got a one-armed choke, which we don't see a lot. You know, we saw recently with Oliveira versus Randy Brown. Yeah, he got the one-arm choke, which was very solid. So I mean, there's not much to say about this. The Dvorak was meant to be fighting Paiva, which was a very, very good fight. So I'm kind of annoyed we didn't get to see that fight. But hopefully they rebook it. I don't know if Dvorak would actually like to take that fight again because Paiva missed weight on his last fight, and this time he gets put to hospital for a bad weight cut. So he might not want to risk going, lining up to fight him, and then the guy can't make weight. So, and that kind of what it seemed like after Dvorak had his post-fight interview. You know, he said the stupid guy Paiva, and he kind of didn't seem like too interested in fighting him again. But who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Anyway, yeah, you just ran through this dude. You know, I think they actually trained together before, and not much to say about this man. I mean, he got a stoppage in 2 minutes, so it is what it is. You know, well done, Dvorak. Joshua Kulabau versus Shaylin. Let's just call him Shaylin, man. I'm not even going to attempt that one. Narco is saying yes, but I got stuck on bottom for the entire round. He wouldn't be stuck on bottom for the entire round because Demir wasn't shooting. Yeah, of course, man. You know, but I'm just saying, like, we don't know what would have happened. You know, like Demir could have stood back up to the feet and started peppering him with a jab and then knocked him out. You know, so like, I understand what you're saying, but just me personally, I never like to say, if a fighter didn't do this, this would have happened, because we really don't know. A lot of times we've seen, like, for example, Michael Chandler, right? He got his back taken against Charles Oliveira. No, he actually let Charles Oliveira take his back, right? He gave his back to Charles Oliveira. He was able to get out of that. He smashed Charles Oliveira, and he actually reversed the position and ended up ground and pounding Charles Oliveira, right? If Charles would have got the choke on him, everyone would have been like, oh, Chandler, that was so dumb. If he didn't let Oliveira take his back, then that wouldn't have happened, right? But this time he did let Oliveira take his back, and he was able to reverse it. So we never really know what's going to happen. I completely know what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, for me personally, I basically never used the angle, if he didn't do this, this would have happened. But it's true that if he didn't do that, he wouldn't be stuck on bottom. But then something worse might have happened, you know, so that's all I'm saying. Anaconda is saying hell of a week. Yes, great week, and puts us up solid on the year now. We was already doing great, but now we're doing even better. Oz Tyler saying he's very high on Dvorak. 2.5 units on him against Paiva. Right. Did you have anything on this fight? I know, damn, I can't remember his name. Someone was saying that the, what was it? I think the line on Dvorak's submission was like plus 850. I can't remember. Someone was saying that. Oh, Phoenix Bet MMA. Phoenix Bet MMA. He was saying that he saw the line at plus 850, but his book didn't release it. So, you know, anyone who got a Dvorak sub, obviously plus 800 for a Dvorak sub who's got some rear naked chokes on his record. I've seen it on the regional scene, was pretty crazy, right? Because when you get that step down in competition, which we'll talk about in the next fight after this one, oftentimes the finishes do materialize. Oz Tyler, close fight, but thought the leg kicks would have been a neutralizer. What one are you talking about? Paiva, yeah. Okay, yeah. Yeah, we never know. All right. So Joshua Kulabau versus Shaylin. Yes, I actually had 1.5 units on Joshua Kulabau inside the distance at plus 245 here. I like the odds. I thought we had a good chance of landing it. Even during the fight, a couple of times I thought he was going to stop him. I didn't expect Shaylin's chin to be that good. Obviously, I've seen him knocked out by Rong Zhu. I have seen him hurt on the feet. I obviously saw Joshua Kulabau knock down Charles Jourdain pretty handedly in his last fight. And obviously, he's got every single fight he stopped before he got to the UFC. So I wasn't expecting Shaylin's chin to hold up the way it did. I mean, if you remember that fight, it was kind of like Cody Garbrandt's chin. It just kept getting touched, and he just basically held up. A few times he looked wobbled. And I do agree with what Paul Felder was saying, was that Joshua Kulabau was admiring his work a little bit here. So he would hurt him, he would hurt him with that straight right. And then he would kind of just leave it in the air, like very cute, So bomb, throw the hand, and then leave it. You know how they try to, they just try to make everything look extremely pretty, So you go 1-2 and you kind of hold it out there. Don't know if any of you guys sparred before, but sometimes, when you're trying to be smooth in sparring, you'll throw the 1-2 and then leave it there, draw it back, and just try and look kind of cool, basically, as opposed to really putting it on his opponent. And that's what Joshua Kulabau was doing here. He was in the flow, so I understand that you want to be in the flow, so you want to kind of look cool, get in the flow mode, but you should put it on your opponent a bit more, in my opinion, and Paul Felder's opinion as well. I agreed with him. I don't always agree with the commentators, but I definitely agreed there that Culibao could have come with that right hook to the body after that, or left hook to the body, whatever. I think he's orthodox, yeah. So could have come with the left hook to the body after, left hook up top. Just any shot after the right straight he could have come up with, but he didn't. He admired the right straight because it was beautiful. It was landing all the time, right? But hopefully he'll learn from that, because that was a pretty clear thing he could have done. And if he did that, I thought we could have got a stoppage. Plus 245, I'm not unhappy with that bet. The read on Joshua defending takedowns was very good. Obviously, after the first round, it was basically a kickboxing match. I obviously did have Joshua Culibao in a 5-unit parlay as well. So I was just happy he got the win, Took a shot on the inside the distance at a pretty big number. But yeah, man, I mean, great win for Joshua Culibao, but I don't really rate Shaylin too much. But it was good to see Joshua Culibao get a win in the UFC. I do think he's a decent fighter, and it was good to see him get 15 minutes as well, even though it wasn't great for my bet. But it was good to see his skill set a bit more, because Charles Jourdain, we didn't see his. I mean, we saw his skill set was a stand-up fight. Charles is pretty open as well, and then also in a Jalen Turner fight, we didn't see much from him. And in the regional scene, he's just knocking everyone out. So it was good to see a good 5 minutes of him. In a fight that he could show off his skills, show off his wrestling defense, grappling defense, his patience. He looked good in that fight. He looked good. But as I say, don't really rate Shaylin too much. Them Chinese fighters have been doing bad in the UFC recently. Them UFC PI China fighters. So yeah, good win. Shout out to Josh. The next fight, Bruno Silva, Victor Rodriguez. I think everyone cashed on this fight. I got in Bruno Silva inside the distance at plus 135. That was actually... that line held for a while. I don't tip lines that don't hold. I don't tip lines that are not widely available on bookmakers, like a lot of people do. A lot of touts do, I should say, which is terrible. It's very morally wrong. And I disagree with that, of course, like badly. But lots of touts do that, which is, I'm not going to name names. It is what it is. I don't care. I'm doing my own thing. But, I notice it, right? I notice touts that tip opening lines and, lines that you're just not available on a lot of bookmakers. And also, what I've been thinking a lot of the times, which is so annoying, is that like the lines I get, I don't tip right straight away, because if they're not available on all bookmakers, I don't tip them because I can't, right? Because it's not morally right. But I mean, if I put in Bet MMA the lines I get, the lines I can get that I can't tip yet, man, my unit profit will be way more, because like you're talking about a line that will come out on 5 dimes where I live is like plus 180. And literally when I send it out, because when it's released on all bookmakers, it's like plus 120, so I have to tip it at plus 120, input a Bet MMA at plus 120, but I got it at plus 180. So like if I over the year, that difference, I mean, it's, ridiculous. You're probably talking 20 units of profit extra I would have a year. Like, no lie. But yeah, it is what it is. But sometimes that kind of annoys me, like, damn, like I actually profited more than this, but I can't say I did, even though I did. Anyway, Bruno Silva, completely dominant. I mean, 1 minute exactly, knocked him out in 60 seconds. So we have Bruno Silva inside the distance, 2.5 units at plus 130. Plus 135, 2.5 units, so pretty heavy on prop bets. I don't usually go that heavy on prop bets because there's a lot of volatility in them. But this one was, we got the full 15 minutes for the inside the distance. And I think this was probably one of the bets of the card, in my opinion, plus money. And I mean, it was always going to happen. He was always going to KO him. We also had Bruno Silva in 2 parlays. This actually cast a parlay with Demir, which I'm not actually happy that I put Demir in the parlay. Not necessarily just because the way the fight happened, because I do think that like Demir deserved to be a pretty big favorite, even though he got hurt in that fight, because as I said, that's like a low percentage move. If he doesn't stop him, Demir wins the fight. But I was saying on my podcast last week that like the line's a bit wide, and then I still bet Demir, which is a bit crazy. To be honest, I do think Demir wins that fight at least 80-85% of the time, because how often does Raphael Alves land one of them crazy things? I mean, not really. He didn't do it in this fight. I mean, he didn't stop him with it. So he probably wins about 85%, which is about minus 500, right? But, I'm just not happy with it, because I just rated the skill set of Alves, so that was a bad bet for me. It was just a square bet, you know. It was just like the odds were probably accurate when we got him. I think we got him at like minus 450. Not going to be back in our minus 600s. That's getting a bit wide, but anyway, Bruno Silva, had him in that parlay, and then I also had him in another parlay, and then I also had him in inside the distance. So, you know, what happens is sometimes when you get mismatches like this, you need to take advantage of it, right? And that's what we did here. You know, we put him in 2 parlays, we put him inside the distance, and, you know, looking back on it, I should have put more on it. Do you know what I mean? Because, yeah, I should have put more on it. You don't get these often, you know. I mean, you get them in MMA quite often. Like, you do kind of get them often. We've got another one on this card, which I'll talk about in a minute, but you know, you need to just destroy these lines when you do get them, because I mean, they're there for the taking. The market is ridiculously inefficient. I mean, you're making Bruno Silva, you open him like a minus 200 favorite. I mean, you're putting Silva inside the distance at plus money. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. If anything, I should have put 10 units on that, right? You can put a lot of money on prop bets. I know people don't think you can. I don't know why. I think it might be because BetMMA.tips has a 3-unit prop limit on there, but it's actually incorrect. You can put a lot of money on prop bets. I mean, if your unit sizes is like $3,000, then maybe not, but you can put a lot of money on prop bets in most bookies these days. So, you know, I should have put 6-7 units on Bruno Silva inside the distance there, but it is what it is. I will go heavier in the future, I believe. Yeah, man. When I get a solid read on a fight like this, which was easy, I need to go heavier on it. I already go crazy heavy, right? So I'm 21-0 right now on bets over 5 units, right? So, I mean, you know, it just tells you that I do a lot of bets that are bigger than 5 units, which is going heavy in and of itself. But maybe I should even go heavier, man. I mean, on something like this, Bruno Silva inside the distance, I should be putting 7-8 units on that, in my opinion, at plus 135. Anyway, great win. Narco Cop saying he hammered the fight. The under on the fight was amazing. Fight doesn't start around 3. Yeah. Silva inside the distance, that shit was like always going to hit. At plus money as well. It's crazy. Yeah, the Lafsky FC fight is just not on the level of Bruno Silva here. No way. Yeah, Medic looks decent, eh? All right, Court McGee is fighting Claudio Silva. Court McGee got a decent win here. I wasn't watching this fight tooth and nail. Didn't have a bet in this fight. You know, Court McGee was able to get quite a lot of takedowns. He actually went for a submission attempt over Claudio Silva, which was quite funny. Not funny, but, you know, just interesting to see. Claudio gassed badly, but he did try to come back in that 3rd round, try to swing heavy lever at Court, but Court's a veteran of the game. And Court was able to, you know, withstand anything that basically was coming back at him, and he clearly won the fight, really. I think it was a 30-27 in the end. Shout out to Court. Not much to say about Court. I mean, I did like his post-fight interview. He was, yeah, he's a good character, you know. I like Court, but not much more to say about that fight, to be honest. This fight, all right, this was another big bet for us. Ben Rothwell, Chris Barnett. So this was another mismatch. Chris Barnett definitely hit Ben Rothwell a couple of times with some good shots, overhands. It's a little bit worried, but you know, Ben Rothwell, you know, he's a huge dude. He ate them pretty fine, to be honest. And Barnett just was gassed, which was funny because I did think Barnett might have, you know, Barnett had decent cardio. I mean, he does have decent cardio, but when Ben is just pressuring you like that, you know, 6'5" man, 85-inch reach, 82-inch reach, whatever it is, just pressuring you, pushing you back. You know how hard it is to go back. It's probably one of the most cardio taxing things ever to do, which is be on your back foot, right? As I said earlier, if you guys have ever been, you know, in fights, ever fought before, ever sparred on the feet specifically, if you're a counter striker and someone's just pressuring you, it's so fucking tiring, man. Like ridiculously tiring. It's so much more tiring than if you're pressuring. That's why fighters that fight on the back foot, they have to have very good cardio. Because they just end up tiring out, you know. Even if the fighter's getting... I remember Amanda Lemos. She fought... I don't remember who it was. Some huge dude. It might... some huge woman, sorry. Might have been Miranda Granger. Maybe not. I could be probably completely wrong there. But, you know, Lemos was fighting on the back foot because she was fighting like 2 weight classes up at what she fights at now. And, you know, her punches were just getting eaten by her opponent. And she was just getting pressured back, and she just tired out because she was just getting pressured so much, and that's what happened to Chris Barnett here. He was hitting Ben Rothwell with big shots. Ben Rothwell was eating them, walking forward, and Chris Barnett was like, it's a mental thing and it's a physical thing. It's a physical thing because obviously you're getting pushed back, so you constantly have to move back. But the cardio is also drained because your mental is working so hard. We actually drained your cardio, which is a crazy thing. I've spoke about it on previous podcasts, and I don't see anyone talking about these things in the MMA game or the betting game in general. Like, to be honest, 50% of the things I talk about, I literally see no one talking about them. And I'm not trying to be big-headed, but this is one of them. I just have to speak facts and see and talk how I see them, right? And this is how I see it. Just no one speaks about stuff like this, which is good to know. If you don't know, it's good to know because it's just always going to help your capping ability, right? Anything you know about fighting more is going to help your capping ability. And there's something which I don't really know what it is. I'd like to see some studies on it, like I said in a previous podcast, but it'll be pretty hard to study, but I'm sure someone out there who's smart can do it. What I'm talking about is the phenomenon of how the mental affects the cardio. Now, I won't get into this too much because I do like to go on rants and stuff, but basically what it is that your mental can affect your cardio, right? Your mental can affect your physical. We know that anyway. We know what placebo drugs are. If you don't know what a placebo drug is, go and Google it. So it's very obvious that the mental affects the physical. If someone's about to rob you or stab you or shoot you or something, that's a mental thing, right? And then loads of physical stuff starts happening. You'll start to sweat, tremble, your throat will clam up. So we already know the mental affects the physical. That's not disputed. Now, in fighting, if someone is walking you down, mentally, it drains you, which actually drains your physical cardio, which is pretty crazy. So mentally, you're like, fuck, this dude's not going away. And then you actually get more tired because of that. I guess the cortisol levels will rise, which they'll already probably be crazy high because you're in a fight. But I guess the cortisol level rising and stuff just drains your energy more. I don't know the science behind it, but it is interesting. And it did happen to Chris Barnett this weekend. Ben Rothwell was pressuring him too much. And, he just got tired quicker than I have seen him get tired in a lot of previous fights. So there we go. Ben Rothwell got the submission. And I know a lot of people are on the submission there. It's funny because I saw someone post a submission prop bet at plus 1,200, right? And I was like, damn, I'm jumping on that, right? Let me go see if the price is still there. I think when I saw it, I didn't look into the submission prop bet or whatever. I just I bet Ben Rothwell inside the distance 2 units at plus 120. But then when I saw the submission I was just lazy and didn't check the submission or KO. I guess I just opted with inside the distance because I actually did predict a knockout, right? But when I saw the submission at plus 1,200, I'm like, okay, insta bet, no doubt about it. A little half a unit on that quick time. But when I checked, it was plus 600, plus 700 on a lot of bookies. And it kind of turned me off it. I still thought that was a little bit of value, to be honest. But it's kind of annoying because, I would have cashed another 3-4 units there. And obviously, if I saw that 1,200, I would have cashed 6 units. But it is what it is. I still cashed inside the distance. And I had Ben Rothwell on a parlay with Culibao and Bruno Silva at plus 146 or plus 150. So, that cashed about 7-8 units for us on a 3-leg parlay. I basically never do 3-leg parlays, guys. But I was very confident on Ben Rothwell, Bruno Silva, and Joshua Culibao. So that's why I did it. As I say, when you have spots like this, you should hammer them. And I did hammer them. Inside the distance on Ben Rothwell and in a parlay. And on Bruno Silva, inside the distance and in 2 parlays. So we cashed on this fight. We cashed, I think, 9.5 units because, we had the inside the distance and the parlay. Ben Rothwell was able to get the submission. Not a surprise there. Lots of people are on that. Congratulations if you bet that. Very good spot. A lot of people did it. The next fight, Jack Hermansson, Edmund Shabazian. This was easily predicted, right? But I did give some credence to Edmund Shabazian possibly knocking out Jack Hermansson in the first round. That's why I didn't bet Jack Hermansson at chalk, right? I actually did bet Edmund Shabazian in round 1 at plus 600. Good bet in my opinion. Nothing wrong with that. I'll make that bet again. If they fought again, I might make that bet. You know, I'm happy with that bet. Plus 600, pretty crazy. I said it was crazy before the fight. I still think it's pretty crazy, to be honest. Edmund Shabazian badly pieced him up in that first round. The only reason he didn't knock him out in that first round, well, you know, one of the reasons is because I feel like he was trying to be a little bit more cautious and preserve his cardio. He did talk about that pre-fight, and it seemed like, you know, he was only throwing the jab and the overhand, didn't throw any head kicks, I believe, and, you know, was taking a more measured approach. It didn't actually work because he still got tired as fuck in that second round, got taken down. Obviously, in the third round, almost got stopped. So pretty predictable outcome there, very predictable. Edmund wins the first round and then loses the fight, you know, either by stoppage or decision. So shout out to Jack Hermansson, did what he had to do, you know, got dominated badly in that first round. Quite funny. In his post-fight interview, he said he felt like a beginner on the feet. And, you know, it's crazy because these fighters, they fight, you know, they train every single day, but their skill sets are just so different. It's just, it's interesting to see. That's why MMA is just the best sport in the world, because, you know, someone's so good at striking like Edmund, but then he just gets taken down and his cardio isn't good. And, you know, it goes on to another thing that I've been saying for months, you know, since I started putting out content now, almost years. What I've been knowing for years, and I've been saying for 6 months, 9 months, that no one basically talks about really, is that a lot of these fighters that have cardio issues, they're always going to have cardio issues, right? It's just genetics. They'll basically never be able to improve it. And Edmund seems like he is one of them fighters that virtually will never be able to improve his cardio. Now, yeah, they improve it a little bit, but at the end of the day, they're always going to be gassers, right? Say the same thing about fighters like Conor McGregor. You know, he always gasses in every one of his fights, you know. Shout out to my guy, Andrew. He was saying that this is one of the most overrated narratives in MMA. Man, I didn't reply. I was like, Loa, we're not going to agree. I think Conor McGregor is a serial gasser. I think it's so clear. I mean, yeah, look, he can get through it. We saw him get through it against Nate Diaz in the second fight, but he still gassed badly in that fight, right? In the third round, the second round, I think it was. He almost got stopped up against the cage at one point. Obviously, he's gassed in multiple other fights. Gassed in Chad Mendes fight, did get the stoppage there. Gassed in the Diaz 1 fight, you know, got stopped there. Did well in the Khabib fight, but he was still gassed. You know, I mean, he was tired, right? It's not like he wasn't pushing the pace in them 4th and 5th rounds like we've seen Jack Hermansson do, like we see Marvin Vettori do, right? There's a huge difference between certain fighters' gas tanks, right? And no matter how much they train, you don't think Edmund Shabazian knows that he's got a bad gas tank from the Darren Stewart fight, from the Derek Brunson fight. You know, he knows that, right? But he just can't help it. You don't think he trains every fucking day religiously. You don't think Derek Lewis trains every single day to get, maybe not Derek Lewis, you know, he always talks about he doesn't, but he puts the work in. Don't listen to that boy, man. You like, we've seen it around Embedded and stuff. You don't think these guys work every fucking day, like to work on their cardio. When it comes to fight time, they fucking fade, you know, it's a regular thing. So it's just genetics. It's like anything, guys. Like, genetically, people are predisposed to have better gas tanks than other people. It is what it is. Nate Diaz. Do you think Nate Diaz has great cardio because he trains his cardio better than other people? Now, he's a bit of an anomaly because he does triathlons and stuff, right? But just like Marvin Vettori, he's got great cardio, right? Jack Hermansson's got good cardio. Do you think they've got good cardio because they just do way more cardio than Edmund Shabazian, than Viviane Araújo, than Conor McGregor? No, I don't think so. It's just genetics. So just keep that in mind, you know, that Edmund is a fader, because there is a narrative that some people say, like, oh, he should be working on his cardio, so it should improve. No. There's no should improve. Watch it first, see what happens, and then make your decision. Trust me, for every time you think someone should improve from what you've not seen before, what you've heard from camp, what you've heard from, you know, people who train with them, whatever, for every time that you're right, you're going to be wrong 20 times, right? Just go with what you see on tape. Trust me. It's a stupid narrative to expect improvements that you haven't seen. especially if someone showed a weakness in that area, right? If someone's all right, you can expect them obviously to get a bit better. But if someone's just a serial gasser and all of a sudden you think, oh, he's going to be he won't gas now. I mean, it's just stupid. If someone can't stuff a takedown, Yan Xiaonan, and she can't get up from bottom, don't just assume she's going to be able to get up from bottom now. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, the next fight, Ramos versus Algo. Good fight this was. Ramos won this fight clearly. He's done very well. The striking was very close, but obviously the takedowns of Ramos secured it. Shout out to anyone at Ramos at plus money. He was sitting plus 100 just before the fight, so definitely a good bet for anyone who bet Ramos there. I didn't see many people bet on Ramos, so if you did, congratulations to you. It's always good to bet. It's always good to bet on a fighter that no one seems to be on, right? Because it proves that, you know, you had a good read on that fight. It proves that, you know, if you consistently do it, it proves that you're seeing things in a different way than other people. You are good at this game. It wasn't just a random fluke. And it just feels good, right? When the whole world is on someone else, or if no one is on your fighter, people just pass it on the fight, but then your fighter wins at plus money. You know, it's always good. So anyone on Ramos, definitely hold my hands up to you there. I wish I looked into it a little bit more. I just saw the fight being close and I didn't want to risk it because I saw other bets that I, had a better read on, and it turned out okay for me. So I'm happy with that. I actually was leaning Ramos. I had Ramos in one of my crazy parlays that actually landed. I cashed out on it actually. But I have my main bankroll, and then I have a little stupid bankroll to do stupid bets on, you know, which actually come off sometimes. You know, like I'll do Ramos. I'll do like a plus money parlay, like 5 people plus money and stuff. And, you know, it's just a little bit of fun. It makes stuff a bit more fun than me. I don't put too much money on it. Obviously, my units, that's what I'm really trying to increase over time. But I also do have a little fun betting account on a specific bookmaker where I just fuck about. And I had Ramos in a parlay there, so I was leading Ramos. And yeah, I'm glad to see him get the win. You know, he got dissed a little bit. You know, like people were saying that he's got a bad chin, or, you know, he's a bit of a quitter. But I think he took some heavy shots in that fight. There was one not overhand, but it's like a short overhand, kind of like a check straight. It was weird. And, you know, it cracked him on his chin badly, and I thought it could wobble him. You did see Ramos open his eyes a bit, but he was able to persevere through that. So shout out to him. He did well there. Yeah, man. Both of these fighters, I like to see them fight again. I like both of them. Good skill sets. Now, Felicia Spencer versus Norma Dumont. Now, this fight was a very good fight for me to watch because, you know, I felt like everybody was on Felicia Spencer here. You know, most of the industry bet Felicia Spencer. I obviously bet Norma Dumont. I had 1.5 units on her at plus 175. I just thought it was a close fight. You know, I didn't think she'd run away with it or anything, but I thought she'd do a good job of staying in space. And if she did get backed up, I thought she'd be, you know, strong enough to keep Felicia Spencer off her, at least for the first 2 rounds. I actually put 0.15 units on Felicia Spencer in round 3. And I mean, we saw what happened in round 3, right? Felicia got on top because Norma let her up because Norma was gassed, which was a terrible decision. But it is what it is. She was gassed, and Felicia, you know, she was coming on strong in that 3rd round. So I feel like my read on this fight was, you know, so perfect that I had Felicia in round 3, and then I also had Norma Dumont money line plus 175. I mean, yeah, I just thought it would be a close fight, right? So if you're giving me plus 175 in a close fight, I mean, I'm gonna bet that shit all fucking day. Do you know what I mean? And I was happy to take home, I think it was like 2.7 units we got off that bet. Norma's a good fighter, man. Norma is very underrated. I almost bet her against Ashley Evans-Smith. The reason I didn't is because we didn't have a lot of tape from her, right? What I saw on tape, I liked, but there was that Maurice fight, right, that I couldn't get, and she hadn't fought in the UFC yet. But after we saw her go 15 minutes against Ashley Evans-Smith, and then obviously it's a different matchup here. It's against Felicia Spencer, and she was moving up a weight class, which I actually kind of liked for her. I thought it might help her gas tank, although it didn't really, but I thought it might. You know, that happens a lot. It seemed to happen with Raphael Alves earlier in the card. You know, I almost bet her at plus money again against Ashley Evans-Smith. So I was really annoyed I didn't get her at plus money then, but I made up for it here. especially at a better line, plus 175. I think she was like plus 120 against Ashley Evans Smith. So yeah, shout out to anyone on that bet. I think this was one of the best bets that I made off the night, just because I got her plus 175 in the fight that was, so close. I also saw, who was it? Oh yeah, Scrap Kappa was on this. So shout out to you. Other than that, I didn't see anyone on the bet. So as I said about the Ramos one, it's always good when, everyone's on one fighter and, your read was right and you bet that underdog, especially when you bet the underdog, it feels good. So yeah, there we go. Norma Dumont, that capped off a huge night for us. That was our last bet on the card and took us up to 19 units on the night. Yeah, Justin Tafa versus Jared Vendera. I don't think anyone thought Jared Vendera would come out and put a striking kickboxing clinic on Justin Tafa, which is what he was doing, especially for the first round. I mean, yeah, man, this was a good fight. This was an absolute war. I think Tafa's on like a 2 or 3 fight skid now. Hopefully they don't cut him because he's always in good fights. I thought Jared Vendera would actually be able to take Justin down. He didn't shoot a takedown at all, which it's so crazy, these low-level heavyweight fights, because there is a lot of volatility in them. I mean, who would have thought Justin Tafa would, deserve to beat Carlos Felipe and get robbed in his last fight out? No one really, right? And then who would have thought Jared Vendera would then come out and kickbox Justin Tafa and put on like a dominant 3-round decision? I mean, no one, right? It's just absolutely crazy. So, in these low-level heavyweight fights, probably good angle is to just expect the unexpected, right? Not only can they knock each other out with one punch, but also there's just a lot of volatility in them. And I guess that's what you get with any low level, right? When you get 2 low level fighters in any weight class, there's a lot of volatility. I guess we've just been seeing a lot recently in heavyweight. In my opinion, Jorgen De Castro getting knocked out. I remember that one as well. But yeah, great win for Jared Vendera. I would like to see, obviously, Justin Tafa being kept in the UFC, and obviously they will keep Jared after that. The next fight, okay, this was the best bet on the card, in my opinion. Look, you could make an argument for Bruno Silva inside the distance. You can make an argument for some prop bets and stuff, but I want to give people who bet Carla their credit. I didn't bet Carla here. I want to say that they had the best bet on the card. If anyone in the chat bet Carla, well done. Anybody in general watching this bet Carla Esparza, well done. Cookie Monster comes out there, completely dominates Yan Jianan. One of the most dominant performances of her career, probably the most dominant performance of her career. I mean, to get a TKO from crucifix position in round 2 like that after just having a 10-8 first round was, phenomenal from Carla. Not surprised, though. Not surprised. And because I'm not surprised, I'm actually surprised that she got the stoppage, but I'm not surprised she won the fight at all. And because I'm not surprised, kind of kicking myself that I'm not on her. But it's one of them things where I had so many units laid out on the card already. I'm very confident in all my other bets. And I could see a path where if Yan could get up, she only needs 30 seconds to steal the round. But, I still favored Carla here. And if I'm favoring an underdog, I really should be betting them, like Norma Dumont, right? But I guess this was lined a lot closer, plus 100. She was like plus 140 at times, but that was very early on. I didn't do the tape by then. But yeah, anyone got in a Carla, shout out to her. Hopefully she fights Rose for the title. I'd like to see that. You can give Weili the rematch, or you can give Weili to Carla Esparza if Carla Esparza beats Rose. But would I like to see the Weili rematch against Rose, or would I like to see Carla Esparza? I'd like to see Carla Esparza get a title shot, in my opinion. Weili got knocked out in the first round, so I do understand giving her a rematch. And a lot of people call me crazy. They probably say, no, she got knocked out in the first round, so she don't deserve a rematch. It was definitive. But, we see first-round knockouts happen all the time. They don't mean much, guys. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that one specifically, just in general. If a fighter gets knocked out in the first round, a lot of times that won't happen if they fight another 50 times. That will never happen again. So I do actually understand giving Weili a rematch, even though I don't think she's done much to deserve it, in the fact that she beat Andrade in the first round, which was a good win. But then, in my opinion, she lost against Joanna Jacek. And then obviously she got knocked out by Rose. So it's not like she's put in, crazy amount of work in the UFC, although she was on an amazing win streak in general, 23 or something. But what I'm trying to say is it's not like I'm not super compelled that, yeah, she deserves a rematch. But I do understand the angle of giving her the rematch. And obviously, business-wise, she's a huge star in China. China are a market they're trying to conquer right now. With Yan, with all these Chinese fighters they've been bringing in, with the UFC payout out there. So Obviously, business-wise, it makes sense, but I would prefer to see Carla get her shot at Rose, fight Rose again, and get a shot at that belt again, because that would be an amazing story if she was able to capture the belt again, you know. She looks so dominant there. I like Carla, man. Shout out to Carla. Next fight was the main event of the evening, Rob Font versus Cody Garbrandt. Another one of the bets of the evening, in my opinion. Rob Font to win, you know, Rob Font money line. Putting an absolute clinic against Cody Garbrandt. Yeah, I mean, just made it look easy, really. There's not much to say, really. I did touch on this fight before I started the, you know, this recap, or just as I started the recap. But I thought Cody should have continued with the takedowns. I mean, it was like very, very easy to get the takedowns on Rob Font. It does say he went 3 for 10. I don't remember him attempting 10 takedowns, but, you know, an attempt and a takedown in the UFC on the stats, right, can be this. Watch this. I'm going to show you like exactly what an attempt is. So you're fighting, right? Boom. That's an attempt of a takedown. You grab them. You have to grab to their knee, right? So if you go for a knee, literally, you move your hand like that, and they class it as an attempt. They class it as an attempt on a takedown. So sometimes them stats can be a little bit skewed because you could just be faking a takedown, to be honest. Like, there might not even be an attempt. Anyway, I thought Cody should have probably attempted a little bit more, and Rob Font said he thought he should have as well, you know. And Rob Font, his post-fight interview was so good because he was just so down to earth. It's funny. It's like you're talking to just some, literally just some, you know, your neighbor or something, just some average dude on the street. He's like, yeah, you know, I thought you should have gone for more takedowns. I was confused why he didn't do that. And then the people are like, Rob Font's like, yeah, the takedowns, they just come so easy for him. So he should have just went for more, you know, just like zero ego, just admitting that basically his takedown defense was awful in that fight, and admitting that if Cody went for more takedowns, he would basically have had a better luck in that fight, you know, which a lot of people would say, you know, a lot of fighters would probably say, oh, no, if he would have went for more takedowns, I would have picked him apart more on the feet, would have been opened himself up. But Rob Font was like, no, if he would have went for more takedowns, he probably would have got him and probably would have had a better chance of winning the fight. You know, just completely honest there. So I like Rob Font's honesty. And I agree. I do think Cody should have went for more takedowns. Maybe it was tiring him out. I'm not sure. We'll never know. Cody's got good cardio. We've seen him go 5 rounds twice now, get beat up against Rob Font for 5 rounds. And anyone who says Cody has a glass chin, which is basically every single person ever, right? I'd like to hear what you got to say now, because he took some heavy shots for 5 rounds, and, you know, he looked wobbled a couple of times, but he never got dropped to one knee. Great chin from Cody. Very strange. Maybe it's the beard, you know? Like, I really don't know what it is, but it's just funny, right? I think what it is that, and I said this before the fight as well, look, I don't think Cody's got the best chin, right? I'm not going to say that, but I didn't think it was as bad as everyone was blowing it up to be, because I did think that in the fights he got knocked out on, he was kind of brawling, right? Like, he was in the pocket, right? His chin was up. This time he fought a lot more measured, right? If he got hurt, he would back away, right? He'll go for a takedown. He fought a lot more measured. He fought on the outside. He was up against the cage a lot. Completely different style, in my opinion. Not in my opinion. It's a completely different style in anybody's opinion than what we've seen him previously when he got knocked out. So I do think that is a big factor. I don't think his chin is as bad as everyone's saying, but I do think he can obviously get knocked out. We see him get hurt in this fight, right? And, you know, he just ended up not getting knocked out, but we did see him hurt. So he's not got this iron chin. He just walks through everything. But it's not as bad as everyone was saying it. So, yeah, shout out to Rob Font. I mean, he's a dangerous guy. Him versus Yan would be a good fight. Obviously, Aljo's still there. I do want to see don't necessarily want to see the rematch between Aljo and Yan, but, I mean, it's got to happen. So, yeah, let's just see that. Yan will likely win that fight. And then Rob Font versus Yan would be a very good fight, man. I mean, I don't know who I would take in that fight, to be honest. I mean, because we saw Rob Font eat some bombs from Cody, and we know how hard Cody hits. And, you know, Rob Font was like not even damaged at all. You know, he was walking through him. Now, obviously, his face was swollen and stuff, but what I'm talking about, he never looked hurt. He never looked wobbled. And, I mean, Cody hurts everyone, right? I mean, destroyed Dominic Cruz 4 or 5 times. He dropped him. hurt TJ Dillashaw badly in that first round. Probably would have knocked him out if there was 20 more seconds in that first round. Can't remember what happened in the rematch. Hurt Pedro Munoz, who's got an amazing chin before he got knocked out by him. And obviously knocked out by Raphael Alves. What other fights? Thomas Almeida knocked him out clean. I mean, Cody hurts everyone. So Rob Font to eat them shots from Cody is very impressive. Yan is not a one-shot artist. He's more of a Rob Font artist. He's a good boxer who has pinpoint accuracy and is very patient, very similar to Rob Font. That would be an amazing fight. I really would like to see that fight. I'll be interested if Yan would mix in the takedowns like he did against Aljamain Sterling. Although he doesn't get top position a lot, he kind of just sweeps you and gets back up. So he does like striking, but I do think the path there is for Yan to take Rob Font down. But yeah, it'd be a great fight. And hopefully Yan can win and Rob Font gets the next fight. I mean, you'd like to see... It's hard, right? Because I believe Rob Font is deserving of a title shot after defeating Marlon Moraes, title challenger, and then obviously defeating Cody Garbrandt, former champion. But then you've got to say Corey Sandhagen defeat Marlon Moraes, flying knee Frank Edgar, won the KOs of the year. And then if he beats TJ Dillashaw, it's going to be hard to deny him, right? Maybe they do Font and Corey or Font and TJ, whoever wins that fight for the #1 contenders fight. But I'd like to see them both challenge for the belt as opposed to knock one of each other off. But the timing might not just work out. So we'll see how this thing plays out. Word to Dana White. And yeah, man, I'm really interested to see where Rob Font goes from here and where Cody goes for here, to be honest, because Cody is he's lost what? He's won one of his last 5 now. So it's not a good look for Cody. Maybe he'll try and cut weight and go to 125 like he was going to before. He was going to fight Davison Figueiredo. I think that fight was booked, actually. So, maybe he tries to go to 125 now. Sad for Cody. But at the end of the day, on a macro scale, he became the UFC champion. So no matter what happens now, no one can ever take that away from him. He beat a legitimate champion at a time who was just coming off a 5-round win over TJ Dillashaw, who's as real as it gets. Dominic Cruz, and he dominated him. He dominated the Dominator, right, for 5 rounds. So that is a good win, no matter what anyone says. No one can take that away from him. But it is kind of sad to see Cody, because Cody's got so much confidence and he believes in his skill set so much, and we've just seen him just kind of hurt badly, knocked out time and time again, and seeing him dominated for 5 rounds is a lot more disheartening for him, in my opinion, than getting knocked out in a round, because anyone can get knocked out, anyone can get clipped, low percentage things can happen, even though I don't think they're extremely low percentage. But in that case, TJ probably knocks him out quite often. I mean, he did it twice. Maybe not if he's fighting as he did now, though. But what I'm trying to say is getting dominated for 5 rounds is it's destroying, for a fighter, because there's no excuse, right? You're just not as good as the other fighter. If you get knocked out in a round, you can make excuses in your head, which you need as a fighter. You need excuses because you need to gas yourself up to think you're the best. Because if you don't have that confidence, you won't win. So you kind of have to be a bit delusional. You have to be. It's weird. You have to walk the line of delusion and honesty. Because if you're not a little bit delusional, then you'll just be completely honest. And then if you are honest, imagine these welterweights coming up now. If they're honest, a lot of them, they'll never beat Kamaru Usman, right? If George Masvidal, before that rematch, if he was completely honest, 100% honest, he deep down, he would know that, I basically cannot beat Kamaru Usman. Now, anyone can land a flying knee, but, he would basically have to understand that, no, I can't beat Kamaru Usman. He's just a better fighter than me, right? But obviously, you have to be a bit delusional. No, I can beat this dude. Fuck this. I'm going to knock this dude out. But then you have to be honest with yourself, because otherwise, if you're not honest, you won't ever get better. You won't address the holes in your game. So it's a line that you have to walk. And you can't really walk that line if you get dominated for 5 rounds, So sad for Cody, but we'll see what happens, man. I'm sure he'll regroup. He'll start training again, and then he'll get more confidence up, and then he'll believe he'll be able to beat Rob Font. But, it is what it is, or someone else. There we go, guys. That's it. That is it. All right. Shout out to James Pinkham. He's saying, am I watching some dude talking MMA in a dressing gown? Yes, exactly, bro. I do lots of things in my dressing gown, not just talk MMA, but this is one of them. Little bit unprofessional today, but I'm a professional sports bettor. This is my job, so I'm just chilling at home right now, as you can see. And I, come on, man, cut me some slack. I just gave you a 55-minute podcast. I'm sorry. Next time I'll be a bit more professional. I usually am. I got my own logo on my jumpers and stuff, but I just felt a little bit lazy today. We just won 90 units. We're up 50 units on the year, so I felt like just chilling out today. Taking a little bit of a break. Dimitri Sped saying he would take Yan over Font, but we would get ourselves a nice line on Yan decision. Yeah, and you got to think that Font would be able to take them, shots from Yan, because Yan is more of a decision fighter. And obviously we've seen Font hurt against a Sunsao, but other than that, he's shown a good chin, really. And I mean, against Cody, he showed an amazing chin. So maybe it's the beards, the beards are giving them a beards, right? So that's it, guys. Not much more to say. If you did want to sign up, you can earn money from betting on MMA with me. We won 60 units last year. We've already won 50 units this year. The year prior, we won 99 units. All my results are third-party tracked on betmma.tips. There's no crazy volatility in my betting strategy like some bettors. We're not staking 50 units on one event. If you use one event, if you lose one event, you've lost half your bankroll. We're not doing that. It's steady, consistent bankroll growth. And, all you need to do is go to betmma.tips or go to my website, lucrativemmabetting.com. All the links in the bio. And then you can see for yourself in depth my record and how I bet. And if it's something you want to do, if you want to join, if you want to earn money with me, feel free to join up on the website. The price for the membership is ridiculously cheap compared to what you will earn unless you're betting $5 units, unless you're betting peanuts. So that's it, guys. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. I appreciate it. I appreciate everyone for talking to me in the chat. And that's it, man. I'll be back possibly next week because we don't have no MMA next week, but I might be back next week anyway for an early podcast, which will be obviously about the following card. So maybe we can jump on some early lines. I already have 2 underdog bets locked in. And if you are thinking about joining the service, definitely join up now because them lines will definitely move. So you want to be in early so you can get the best lines. So that's it. I'll be back probably next week or later on this week for another podcast. And we'll continue cashing on the podcast. Oh, one thing I wanted to say. The most inaccurate betting line that I state every week on a Lucrative MMA Betting podcast is been cashing at an amazing rate. So I hope some of you have got on that. Last week or a few days ago, we had Ben Rothwell inside the distance at plus 120. We've had Rodrigo Vargas a couple of weeks ago, plus 200. I'm giving like plus money plays, We had Rogerio de Lima at minus 170. That was complete domination. So we've been winning a lot recently. And hopefully we can keep doing that. I like to give out free content. But if you want to make the real money, come and sign up with me. So thanks a lot, guys. And